All right. Hello, keyboard goblins. Welcome. So nice to see you guys. Sorry I was late. Me and Bailey were being nerds in the comment section here. So, yes. Well, it's not my fault. We're all constantly bent over our keyboards like little keyboard goblins. And honestly, just doing that made my back hurt. But for those who notice, yes, I'm not downstairs anymore. I'm now in my office because it's warmer, which is nice because I'm really tired of being cold all the time. Oh, so tired of being cold. But welcome to our Sunday co-working productivity thing. I know that a bunch of people are also doing the worldwide sprintathon today, so there's gonna be like streams all day. Yeah, aren't they cute? I wanted to, but the funny thing is I wanted to buy fairy lights for the longest time. And then my dad asked me what fairy lights were, and he came up with a strand of them from the basement. And I'm just, why do you have these? He's like, I don't know. But yes, so let's see who's here. Who's here? Bailey, you and me have been making mischief. Hello. Miss Melody Relody, hello. How are you doing today? I don't think I've seen you pop up in the comment section in a while. I think we're probably just hitting separate streams. I feel like I'm on a reverse schedule from everyone else in the known universe, but that's probably just a time zone thing. It works. It works. But yes, so everybody is going to be sprinting today. So we're going to be getting all of the words in, hopefully. All of the words. Which will be good because I need to get some things done. I'm looking at like an army of papers here and trying not to get overwhelmed. Also, a pair of socks, which I don't know why they're on my desk, but here they are. Okay. Yeah, that's probably where I saw your name before in the comment section. I still can't get Twitch to work, by the way. I still can't get Twitch to work, but I'm usually there on the Tuesday one, just like lurking, like literally lurking, because I can't even comment. No, they do not. They do not match. They are the same brand, but they have different colors. I don't care. I wear boots most of the time. There's like 3 feet of snow outside a lot of the time, so it doesn't matter if the socks be matching, because no one will see them. No one will see them. All right. So what before we get too far into this, what is everyone working on today? Because I know that with the write-a-thon going on today, everyone's going to be, a lot of people have like big projects in mind, and I'm just sitting over here like, I just want my science to make sense. I will gush about my science at some point because things are progressing with my science and I'm very excited about it, but that's like a mini rant in itself. So I'm working on filling out my lab book. This is where I put all my science, and these are all the sections that I have to fill in, and then I put things that I need to print up here. I actually really like this post-it system. It works really well for me. And then when I finish the section, I'll just pull off the post-it note. But I have many things I have to put in here, like what I did in the lab and calculations for dose response curves, and I have to remember which flask I think it was that we killed all the cells in. I'm pretty sure it was the 3rd flask. It's somewhere in this pile of scrap paper. That's where I write things normally. So I need to go ahead and put that into my lab book and make it make sense so that other people can follow my science. Oh, you finished a book yesterday? Wait, was this the story that you were writing, or is this one that you were reading? because like I know you were close to finishing something for a while, weren't you? And that's like that's a big deal. Also, I'm never really finished with a book. I'll I'll write it and I'll be like, I'm done. And then I'll have to set it aside and wait a month. And then a month later I have to go back and rewrite it because I can never see what I want to fix when I'm doing it. Uni work, big projects this summer. Oh, that's good. So wait, what's your major, Melody? I'm experimental bioscience, so we may be different species of nerd, but we're both probably doing a lot of research and correlating resources and trying to remember what my Mendeley login is. I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, it's an exciting thing when you finish the book. Okay, so it is writing. Yeah. No, it's always I don't know, it feels weird finishing a book. It's like it's done, but it's not done, and then it's I don't know, it's a weird kind of separation anxiety, I always feel like. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're done, but you're not done. Oh, Tuesday Walton is here. Hello. I've got more new names popping up. This is cool. How are you doing? What is a jux? I've lost the plot. But so tell me what a jux is. But in the meantime, what are we thinking as far as sprints? Because we are going to get stuff done. We're going to try to get stuff done. Anyways. We're going to try to get stuff done. Ooh, lo-fi timers. Anthropology, analyzing trends in my research today. Oh, dissertation deadline is coming up. Oh, that's stressful. That's stressful. I'd honestly, I'd be fascinated to know what your research project is on, though. I mean, anthropology and biology are pretty broad spectrums, but depending on what kind of thing you're doing, you may be using some of the same research techniques, like meta-analysis and like just scouring through other people's literature. And is it weird that I like that bit? Like, I like being in the lab too, but I really like just combing through other people's data and like just tweezering out things, you know? Oh, okay, that makes sense. I still don't understand why Twitch doesn't like me, but you know what? I have too many logins across the universe to worry about one of them not liking me. Although I did figure out how Discord works at some point, so that's cool. I still don't use it, but I figured out how it works. Okay, so I'm thinking. Da, da, da. I'm thinking we'll start with a 10-minute timer. I'll pull up one of the ones. I usually play ones with lo-fi music. If you guys don't like the music, go ahead and either shut it off or tell me you absolutely hate it and I'll stop it. But I really like the lo-fi soundtracks. They help me concentrate. Yeah, your YouTube chat uses either whatever your YouTube login name is, which a lot of times is your Gmail or Google information. Like I legitimately had to change my Google account information in order to make it be my YouTube name. Identity production on social media. Ooh. Okay. So is this sort of like a facet of how people tend to produce variant identities across different social media platforms, or is this more of like the differentiation between our identity IRL versus our identity on social media? Because there's some really interesting thoughts on like fractured identity across social media, which I think is I'm nerding out. We should get words. We should get words. Okay, hang on. Let me pull up a timer. We'll go with the coffee shop one. And thankfully, it didn't have a Ad this time. I always hate that. I feel like timers shouldn't have ads. It should be against the rules. Application. See what happens when I have too many tabs open. Okay. There we go. All right, guys. Before you get going, if you need to, make sure that you go ahead and take a nice little stretch. Like Bailey and I were saying earlier, we do tend to turn into little keyboard goblins, and that is really not good for us in the long term. Fun fact, there's something called lab yoga. It's almost entirely made up, but it is just stretch moves that they encourage us to do before we use the micropipette, because you have to stand there very still for somewhere between 1 to 2 hours. So make sure you stretch. It is important. Make sure you get some water too. I might at some point go and get some more water during this sprint. Hydrate or dihydrate. And then, of course, caffeine. Unless you're not doing caffeine, no peer pressure, but you know, some of us need it to make our brains function. But, ooh. Melody, you and I are going to be friends. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's a fascinating field. So we're going to have to get into that because that's like a whole conversation right there. But okay, for now, stretch, water, caffeine, save as you go, and I will see you on the other side. Whoop. All right. How did we do? That felt very short for me. Yeah, it's like the timer started and then it was done. Then it was done. I apologize in advance for any whirring you hear from my computer, but that would be because it doesn't like doing more than one thing at a time. So, okay. So, I started going through my article again. I feel like I just barely got into it. I did get more water, which is good. And that was pretty much it. I got more water, I got my paper out, and I started going through it because I've read through this whole article before, but I need to now start teasing out the pieces that I need. I'm actually really excited about this article. So, if you are new here, science. And if science, basically, I'm exposing human immune cells, also known as macrophages, with a particular type of immune cell to various training agents that might change the epigenetic structure of those immune cells and make them more likely to explode and kamikaze themselves into like a bacteria fighting web called a macrophage extracellular trap, also known as a MET. I take blood cells, add stuff to them to make them go poof. The thing is, I'm doing this 384 times at once, and then they run for like a week. So that's a lot of data. And running the experiments isn't even the hard part. The hard part is getting through all the data, which it has been my ongoing struggle this entire time. But I found help. This is a high-throughput real-time imaging technique to quantify netosis, separate process similar theory, and distinguish mechanisms of cell death in human neutrophils. Also an immune cell, wrong immune cell, but close enough. So basically, they figured out how to filter the computer system that I'm using to identify them in real time instead of waiting a week and then having 2.2 terabytes of data to sift through manually, which takes a long time. So I'm going to learn how to make the computer do it for me. I still have to learn computer coding. I'm working on it. There's like a list of things that I need to teach myself. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out witchcraft to make this thing teach a computer how to think for me so that I don't have to manually sift through 2.2 terabytes of data because I don't want to. It's physically possible to do manually. I don't want to. So where are we at? Yes, nerding all the way. Trying not to go full nerd in the comments because I'm working with so many brand new concepts. Yeah, that's exactly the problem that I have because, like, as you just noticed from the word vomit, this isn't, it's all perfectly understand if you have a concise way to explain it, but the comments section makes that so much harder. So I'm just like, I am like give cells germs on purpose and try to make them go poof. That's like that's what I do. I make cells sick and try to make them explode. Which for the record, if you actually catch it on the live cell imaging system, is really cool. Like it just goes poof. Like there's a cell and then poof, no cell. Just gone. Poof. Yeah. So yeah, basically what happens is they explode and they send out in their ghostly, I'm dead, but I'm still fighting to protect the host body way. They send out what's left of their little cellular corpses to make a web around bacteria, which is simultaneously super cool and very creepy. Also, their DNA like attacks the tuberculosis. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, we're working with tuberculosis, which means I don't actually get to touch my cells once they're infected because it's a grade 3 biohazard and I'm not allowed in that room. Oh, I love epigenetics. It's like the coolest subject in science right now. That's how I ended up in this project. I was looking for something in epigenetics, and they were trying to explore the epigenetic training aspect of this poof thing. And I was like, that sounds cool, but we haven't got there yet. We're still at the poof stage. Once we figure out how to make it go poof, then we can start looking at the DNA. But we can't make them go poof on command, and you can't study something that goes poof until you know how to make it go poof. I'm saying poof a lot. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I know. If I can just make the computer do what I want, it will be so much easier. If I have advice for anyone going into the sciences, it's learn computer programming. Specifically R, but really any kind of computer programming is absolutely crucial because when you get to any kind of actual science experiment, you cannot sift through this data manually. And it's the same thing like if you're doing for anthropology, like what if you wanted to sift through the linguistics of how internet communication changes? You can actually teach a computer to search out these patterns and look for phrases and how these expressions are used and stuff like that. But again, doing that manually, pain in the butt. Teaching a computer to do it, also a pain in the butt, but once you've taught the computer to do it, it'll just do it. Like, run along, little computer, do the thing for me. Yes, terabytes, which is why I need a new computer and why this one's whirring alarmingly, because it doesn't like that. I can't tell if that's an I or an AI, because we did use an AI. It was stupid. The dumbest artificial intelligence I've ever worked with. It can't figure out how to open folders. We had to find a workaround. It was interesting. It was very, very interesting. But yeah, I have a hard drive somewhere. It's about the size of this phone, and it holds 2 terabytes, which is annoying because I have 2.2 terabytes of data. This is it. These things are lifesavers. I need like 6 more. 6 more. I have immense respect for anyone in the STEM fields. My first degree was pure maths. Oh, see, that's what I'm struggling with now, though, is partially the data processing, but also once I get the computer to understand what it's looking at, how do I understand what it's looking at? Like we're having to run these statistical computations to measure like cell death against bacterial growth, and I'm just like, what is the graph telling me? Because if I can't figure out what the graph is telling me, the analysis doesn't help. So math is hard. Both interpretations are good. Okay, good. Well, the first 2 weren't mine. They belonged to someone else. But yes, 3 AIs so far. One of them was for learning. One of them I just got to play around with in somebody else's lab, so that was cool. But our AI is stupid. And also takes up too much RAM, so my computer can't handle it. Like you plug it in to run the data and it'll run for 8 hours and then crash. So I need a gamer's laptop, basically. It's really not. It's really not. It's really cool once you like take it apart. Like you take your cells and then you add stuff to it. One of which is vitamin D. Like, here, cells, have some vitamin D. Be less depressed. Get a tan. I don't know. Maybe it'll do something. Maybe it won't. But it's one of like 20 things I've added to these cells to see if I can make them do anything. And then we give them bacteria. And we just put them in the little robot, and the little robot takes pictures every 4 hours. And then we're just like, cool. What you doing in there, cells? Anything? Anything at all? No? Okay. That's basically how my week goes. I just stare at them and be like, are you doing anything? No? Okay. Yeah, I math is its own special brand of magic as far as I'm concerned, because you have to be able to understand it enough to make the numbers do what you want and then be able to understand what the numbers are telling you. And I'm not there yet. I still struggle with understanding ANOVAs, you know? And it's like that's supposed to be like step one of statistics. Forget about Bayesian statistics. Like, no. The computer will do that for me. I am not going to try to wrap my head around that. Unless my boss tells me to, in which case I'll just learn Bayesian statistics. But we've gone down a nerd rabbit hole, as so often happens when we're here. But we should try and focus. We should try. I don't know if we'll succeed. We should try and focus. I know that there is a particularly popular timer on this stream, so I'm thinking that maybe we should just go straight into that one. Although I have found a fun variation, Bailey, that I think you're gonna like. So let's see. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. Okay. Oh, don't worry. That was my chair, not my spine, that made that noise. All right. Stretch, hydrate, or dihydrate. Save as you go, and let us make them dance. That's it. Welcome back. I really gotta stop pulling on my hair. Okay. There we are. All right, I am making progress. I always feel like it takes me way too long to read these articles because I have to like highlight and there's notes all over the place and this I have a post-it note. But I'm making progress. The big thing right now is I need to understand what dyes this test uses and what dyes we are using, because if we're measuring different things, I need to change the settings in the computer to recognize red is this and green is this. There's only two colors, so there's not a lot to keep track of. It's either red or green. That's it. That's the only chromophores we have on this system. But their red dye, they're using a nuclear ID DNA stain to stain the neutrophil nuclei and a DNA fluorescent cytox green nucleic acid stain to assess cell death. My assay is the opposite. We're using DRAC7 to assess cell death, and we're using a green stain to assess bacterial growth. But I don't have, because we can only have two colors, I don't have anything staining the macrophages unless they're dead. I need to work that through in my head a couple times to figure out what's happening. But I think basically the colors are inverted. They use green for alive. No, red for alive, green for dead. We use red for dead, green for alive, but our alive things are different. Yes. Does that make sense? Oh dear, I'm confusing myself at this point. Yes, Mama Ward is here. Hello, hello. I'm glad you got your internet back. And yes, Miss Bailey had to duck out. She has some family stuff to take care of. I think it's all gonna be fine. It's just some aftermath. Yes, you're probably already long gone, but bye, Bailey. We'll see you next time. I am here every Sunday except for the first of the month, for those of you who are new. I can't, like we mentioned before, because I'm doing data processing, this computer can't handle streaming and data processing. So the first Monday of the month, I'm not here because I'm trying to make this computer do math and it doesn't like it. So it's a process. But we'll get it to do things, I hope. Unless one is colorblind, is only. Yeah, if you're colorblind, if you're red-green colorblind, this thing is useless. This thing is useless. But thankfully, you can set the computer to tell the difference. But then if you're looking at the screen, it doesn't help. But the other thing is they're measuring in counts, and we're measuring in mean intensity. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, how do you measure in counts if you've got big blobs? Or is it just, this is a blob, this is a blob, this is a blob? But what if your blobs are all smushed together? How do you count things if all your blobs are smushed together? And I don't know. So I need to keep digging and figure all of this out. Oh, cell death flags everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's how my assay goes. Green things grow, red things bled out. But their assay is the other way around. So whatever settings they have on their computer, I need to flip. But Mama Ward, what are you working on? And then Melody, I wanted to pick your brain about your project. So you were talking about affordances for social media. And where did that go? We were nerding out for a very long time. There it is. There it is. So the interactions between digital affordances and how identity production is changing. So that's like the way that we interact with our apps. The affordances would be the things that we click on and know how to use automatically, right? Like, you know to post images, you know to post funny reels or whatever, if I'm interpreting this correctly anyways. And then how we interact or how we're putting ourselves out there actively changes how we are creating our own identities, at least online, if not a reflection of our identities in real life. Because, like on Twitter, snarky, sarcastic, and a little bit of a dick seems to be the go-to. Meanwhile, on things like TikTok, funny and silly seem to be the go-to because that is how the platforms encourage our engagement or reward our engagement. So then we interact with them in that way. And then that shapes how we think about ourselves. I could be completely messing this up in my head, but that seems to be the way I am understanding it. Okay, so I'm at least getting affordances right. Because yeah, it sounds fascinating. And I know you said, are you in a bachelor's program now? Because you said when you do your master's, so I assume this isn't your master's. If this is just a bachelor's thesis, I want to read it when you're done. And you could absolutely build on that for fractured identity later on. That would be really cool because if the affordances are shaping how you define your self, then interacting across multiple platforms, the different affordances on the different social medias would shape that structure. So, hang on. Pronouns in the bio. Okay. So you've sub focused on a particular element. Yeah, it's a lot. Oh, okay, you're editing Monster? Divided it from 7 books into 12 or 13 books. Okay, so you're just sort of like, what's the word for that? Continuity? I don't know if that's the right word and the right application for that, but basically you're making sure that your systems that you have in place and the tone and the continuity for the science and the magic is the same throughout the entire series. Okay. When you say you made it into divided it from 7 into 12 or 13 books, has it gotten bigger? Or have you just divided it up so the individual stories are smaller? Because from what I remember, this was if this is the one I'm thinking about, this was a big monster. My undergrad dissertation, I have to tell something really small. Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, I know my project sounds absolutely insane. That's kind of because it is. Normally, it's not this intense, but I'm a nerd. But really, what it comes down to, this specific test that I'm doing, even though there's a lot going on, I'm looking at how do these 6 things affect met formation? Which, when you think about it, is like the grad school equivalent of how does adding plant food to the water make the plants grow more? Or like the putting seeds in different soils experiment. You know what I mean? That's basically what I'm doing, but on a really big, complicated scale. A bigger original theory. Okay, that'll be cool. I still want to read your dissertation for the record. Like, it sounds fascinating. Oh, my leg fell asleep. Oh, I hate that so much. Yes. Yeah, it's so funny. And it's not just the interesting thing about the acculturation effect is that, especially with social media, is it's not just generational effect, but we're seeing an increased bubbling of like microcosms and micro communities. Like you get these people like Nerdfighteria, which is the Vlogbrothers fan base, which I only discovered last year, and I don't know how I didn't know about them because they're awesome and they try to decrease the world levels of suckage. But anyways, they're like their own little sub community, and they have their own lore and their own culture and their own microcosms. And I think that's fascinating because online you have the power to develop lore and culture and history in a span of 10 years that rivals the mythos of like Greco-Roman mythology in its complexity. But maybe we're all just giant nerds. I don't know. We probably are. We're here. I'm still in the process of clarifying with my lecturers that no one else has come up with the same idea yet. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. Are you, I assume you've cross-referenced this with, like PubMed, or do you guys use the same academic article databases that we do? You might have different resources, but for us, it's PubMed. Like we go online and you can search, I can look for macrophages, METs, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, incucyte. Ow, my shoulder just popped. I can look for any of those terms and quite clearly see that no one's doing what I'm doing right now, or if they are, they haven't published it. So I mean, obviously, I would think that there would be a pretty simple way for you to search to see if anyone's published something similar. But if you're just looking at who's working on it in your class to make sure two different students don't have the same subject, then yeah, that's a subset. Okay, so the individual stories are smaller. Yes, that is true, but it is still a very common science experiment. My babysitting kids also did the controlling how much sunlight they got thing, which turned out to be a lot harder than they thought because it was raining for like 3 days, and they were like, why can't we have more sun? And I'm like, because I'm not Thor and I can't control the weather. Pick a different project. For the record, the project that I proposed was measuring, not for grad school to be clear, but for my babysitting kids, was measuring the relative efficacy of chemical leavening agents in the production of gaseous bubbles. Does baking soda or baking powder make your cake rise better? Is the common terms for what I just said. But it sounds cool and sciencey, plus they get to make cake. Yeah, it's so frustrating that it moves so fast, especially in the, I mean, I assume you guys have the same problem, but like for me, these projects could take up to 2 years to conduct. So by the time I've published something, is it relevant? I don't know. No idea. So we just sort of have to go with it. Although I will say, I want to show and tell time, guys. The system that I'm using is a live cell imaging system. Now what that means is it's an incubator, like the thing that you put your little flasks in to grow mold. And it takes pictures of them every 4 hours, kind of like a time-lapse camera. So it's taking pictures of the cells while they're alive. And this is the plate that we use to do it. I have one so that I can basically play with it, but so that I can plan out my experiments. So check this out. Each one of these wells holds 80 microliters, which means that I add 40 microliters of bacteria or, in my case, cells plus medium plus whatever thing I think is going to make the cells do what I want in different concentrations. And then I have to fill each of these little wells with something that, like, actually, with something that looks like this. They were cleaning out a junk room at the lab, so I got to keep it. And it's really cool, but this is a 384 well plate. Before this, the largest plate was a 96 well plate. That means I can run up to 320. You shouldn't use the outside wells. They're prone to cross-contamination, and you need to fill them with water so your cells don't dry out. But I can run up to 320 different samples at once, which is obviously means that you can make more science faster. So that's pretty cool. It does speed up the production of science, but it also, now the new bottleneck is dealing with the data. Yeah, we have a problem with that because one of the terms we're using is MET, which is macrophage extracellular trap, and we keep getting cross-referenced with NET, which is neutrophil extracellular trap, because up until about 5 years ago, METs weren't a thing, and now they are. Star Trek culture and Star Wars cultures took decades to develop, but gamer culture, yeah, it's exactly that. The internet makes these cultures, and the international collaboration of these makes them sort of cross-pollinate so quickly, which is really cool. Oh, Suey! Good morning, Suey. How are you? Uh, oh yeah, I remember you talking about making moonshine before. I still have cider in my basement. I have 20 liters of apple cider that I made back in December. By the way, I made a video about it. It'll come out eventually. It was a lot of fun, but now I have no one to drink it with because plague. Yes, the filling the plate is tedious. Um, it doesn't actually take as long as you think if you're good at what you're doing. If you're not, it takes forever because obviously if you dip it in the wrong well, you've now ruined the entire thing. So you have to be very methodical. But if this is why I say the training that I use the most in the lab is training I got while working at a bakery. Because you have to stand there and pipette and you have to have a very steady hand. And obviously, letters have to be neat and in a row. So when you're filling these wells, you have to have a system. You have to know which direction you're going. And you take your pipette and your pipette has a tip that's removable. Like pretend this bit comes off. So this bit is the bit that you squirt in. So you take your tip and then you put it in a box and you attach a new plastic tip. Now you go to your solution, you push down and then you push up to suck up. Lift it from there into the well, push down to squirt out. Now you lift it over to a separate container and you double click to release this plastic bit. Now you go back to the first box and you get a new sterile plastic bit. You go back to the tube with the solution, you suck some up, you put it in the tube, you discard. Do you understand this circle? And this is why I say that scientists spend an absurd amount of time counting to 3 or 10, considering we're not kindergarten teachers. Because that's what I do all day. 1, 2, 3. I do that over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if you plan out your plate correctly in a way that makes sense with that and with that in mind, it doesn't actually take that long. It usually takes me about, I don't know, an hour. If you have to do more than one solution, you're screwed. Just say goodbye to your back, which is why I emphasize stressing. Not stressing, stretching. I'm tired. Yes. Okay, so what are you up to? Ooh, the dollhouse story. Oh, you're working on it for submission. Oh, cool. Yay. We should probably be doing words. We ended up on a nerd tangent, as we do. But we kept bouncing from anthropology to cellular biology. So we should be productive. Now I want to see if I can get some of the people in the lab to make a music video for that. That would be hilarious. Oh, that would be so much fun. Okay. So I think we should try and do another 20. We can go ahead and I'll get a timer set up. I know we have a penchant for the Among Us timers here. I have 2 coffee cups. Guys, I have 2 coffee cups. Which one of these was from today? Okay, so let's get the timer going. Really gotta start cleaning out my desk. Okay. Oh. Okay, number 1, you are in no way tell me a dummy. And number 2, yes, I love the nerd tangents because it's just like fun to get your brain going. Yeah. Count to 5. Yeah, we're just gonna pretend this is fine. It's Oatly, so it should be fine. It should be fine. Apparently I'm ahead of you. Okay. It's all fine. It's all fine. Where's my share screen? Oh, it's gonna be a long day today. There we are. All right, stretch. Pretend that the coffee in your mug is totally fine. Tastes fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Hydrate or dihydrate. Save as you go if you are typing. And I will see you on the other side. welcome. All right, welcome back, welcome back. Those endings always seem to catch me unaware. I was just looking through programming information for graph generation. The statistical programming software that I'm using is open source, which means it's free. But they used a follow-up fingerprint generation using GraphPad, which I thought was open source, but wants me to pay for it. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. The point of the story being, I've gotten to the bit where they reference like the specifics of the things that I need to do, like the settings within the program, basically, that you need to set it up to. So that's good, because the great thing about scientific papers is they're all very, very detail oriented. So I know that for top hat red, I need to set it to a minimum radius of 10 micrometers and a 0.5 red corrected threshold. So like this, it's all in here. The problem is there's a lot of it, and I don't know what it means when it's on paper, because I can't remember what these things do. So I need to just open up the program, plug these settings in. I probably need to swap the green and the red, but they're measuring different things. Basically, I need to plug and play and see what they're doing. But yes, the sniff test is a valid scientific methodology, as long as whatever you're sniffing isn't going to kill you. Oh, we had nerd tangents going on. We had nerd tangents going on. There was a whole long conversation I missed about First Nations peoples and Native Americans and tribes, and the fact that they're basically nomadic, or at least large amounts of them are. And people ignoring history in favor of stereotyping. And other people thinking that the Redskins is still a completely, totally fine term to use. And it's like, no. But yes, sorry, Suey, that was that was my computer. It decided that it didn't want to be on mute anymore for no obvious reason. So it just stopped. It just stopped. So it was a combination of the Among Us and then just me going, oh, shoot. All right. Yeah. Yeah, it barely exists in the States, which is funny because in Florida you have so many things that are named using Native American terms. I forget the name of the specific tribe, but like Lake Okeechobee and at least a dozen streets are all derived from First Nations peoples, but they don't talk about it in school all that much. They only talk about it when white folks start showing up, which is not uncommon, but unfortunate. Continuity of the uses of dark magic and manifestations of dark magic or contaminate. Okay, is this from the Monster book series, I assume? Okay. Huh. I think it's funny how different stories interpret dark magic. There's a lot of cultural preconception that can go into it a lot of times, like what some people call dark magic, other people don't. Like for some people it's evil, for some people it's born out of an emotional state, for other people it's like blood, or it, and for some people it's just night, so like the opposite of light. I think it's fascinating. What do you mean, where, nerd tangents? You were the progenitor, or at least one of the active participants. I guess some people don't consider anthropology a nerd tangent, but One of my MCs is a physicist and a mathematician. She's developing a mathematical system for magic. Oh! Um, The Librarians. It was a 3-movie series with Noah Wilde, and then it became a TV show where he was basically just a guest. But one of the characters, a redhead, had some kind of brain aneurysm, and it's math prodigy, right? And she would be like, "Stand back, I'm doing math," and then she'd like do magic. It was cool. So it just made me think of that. So The Librarians, you should check that out. Yeah, as long as what you're sniffing isn't going to kill you. We have a lot of things in the lab that. What's the way to say this? MacGyver-esque solutions, like the super advanced system that we have for containing used blood bags and preventing biohazard contamination and being able to manipulate them in the fume hood is a roll of aluminum foil. Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like labeling things, people are like, how do you label your cells and end up with individual like little things for the plate? And I'm like, I don't. Right on the lid with tape. And then I have a Google Doc. Like, don't need to reinvent the wheel when you science sometimes. Sometimes masking tape and aluminum foil will get you a lot further than a red DNA RPMI 1640, which is a stain. Yeah. No, don't worry, it wasn't you. You're okay. You're okay. Seminoles are mid-southwestern tribe. Yeah, I know Seminoles, but there was another one. Blackfoot or Blackfeet? I can't. Again, they did not discuss this very much in school, but they were one of the tribes that had a strong influence. I can't remember if it was in my bit of Florida or like up by the Panhandle. I feel like it could have been the Panhandle because Louisiana. But again, they did not cover this a lot in school. So what I remember is like from cartoon specials. Yeah. Yeah, the UK is funny. They're like, no, we didn't invade half the world and make them bend to our will. That wasn't a thing. No, let's not talk about that. Uh, Inverse energy, so inverted or negative magic energy charge. Okay, so in that case, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh yeah, no, that's totally a thing. That's totally a thing. Our immune systems will react to different bacteriological agents with different ways. So a lot of times you can tell what kind of an infection someone has without having to run any tests. Smell is one of those. It's not definitive. It's not like, oh, I smell oranges. This must be Staphylococcus aureus. But yeah, that's totally a thing. Like you can look at a cut and be like, okay, it's oozing and it looked like this and it smells kind of like not so great. So it's probably this. Okay. Yeah. I love that America, the country that didn't exist when the slave trade started. It's like we did all of it. And it's like, no, we sucked the most. We didn't start it because we weren't a country. Uh yeah. Get the hell out of the UK, go to Australia. Much better weather there. That's why all the authors in the UK are so depressed. I mean, Dickens was just miserable most of the time. Great stories, but very depressing. Same with Sweden. Sweden has a lot of dark murder kind of stuff because it's dark here a lot. So, Mm. I'll take your word for it. I haven't sniffed a lot of animal injuries. A lot of the stuff that I work with is not inhale safe, hence working in a fume hood, which for the record is really annoying, and I keep ending up leaving forehead smudges on the glass because when I'm pipetting, I have to, you have to see the plate that you're pipetting into, right? And it's in there. So like my head is like up against the glass, just leaning against the glass as I'm pipetting because otherwise I can't see. And I need to see where I'm pipetting. Otherwise I'm shoving the wrong stuff in the wrong wells. Oh, okay. So what are we thinking? We've got 15 minutes left. It's fine if we run a few minutes over, but at some point I'm going to actually want dinner. So I'm thinking maybe we go ahead and do a nice little tenor just to wrap things up, figure out what's going on. I wonder if they have an Among Us for 10. They do. Okay. All right. So yeah, we should probably do that. We should probably try and get a nice tenor, wrap up our projects. And I started doing this a while back, but when you're wrapping up and as we're doing this last sprint and as you're working on your projects, I do want you guys to think about this. If you're new here, you'll get used to this, but we're going to practice productive self-care. So try and think of something that you can do either in this 10 minutes or when we're done here that will help future you, something that takes care of you in a productive way. You know, it could be finally getting around to like emptying out your email inbox. It could be just going outside and getting the mail, taking out the trash, or even just, you know, I'm going to be in the lab next week. So my productive self-care for today is I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to pack my lunch for tomorrow and pick out my clothes so that I don't have to deal with that in the morning because I don't like dealing with it in the morning. And morning Eve will thank current Eve for doing it for me. So just keep that in mind as we do our last tenor to wrap up. Hydrate or dihydrate. Make sure that you've got saving as you go. Dun, dun, dun. And we'll just, yeah, we'll just get this thing wrapped up. Okay. And as always, I will see you guys on the other side. Oh, all right, welcome back. I should probably stop eating my pen. I think I understand what I'm doing, which is phenomenal progress. Because, look, they used the mask that they created in this computer program with their project to create real-time graphs. Like these guys? There we go, you can see them. And these track cell death. So they're not I'm looking at cell death and bacterial growth, or cell death relative to bacterial growth. Maybe I should just be looking at cell death. I'll start by looking at cell death, because if the cells aren't dead, then they didn't go poof. And if you just walked in like Jabria, you might think I'm losing my mind, but I promise that makes sense to some people. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a good thing that tomorrow is lab day. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna play with the computer that has all of my cells in it. set up these parameters, and hopefully be able to create a masking system that will measure the thing that I wanted to measure, and science will happen. Oh, so how did you guys do? Did we do good? I'm more than ready to pack up my lunch for tomorrow and start getting myself together. I also think I want dinner. We're all in different time zones, so in case you don't know, it's 5 o'clock here. It is 5 o'clock, and I'm not going to have happy hour today because I'm doing math tomorrow, but I will be having dinner. I know those two aren't normally required to go hand in hand, but they usually do in my house. Trying to figure out a solution. Is it? It's Pie Day! Oh my god, I completely forgot about Pie Day! Also, what's wrong with your family? Why don't they like pie? Have they not had good pie? Should you try different pies? You could always try Beltane cream pie. It's basically pudding. It's delicious. I used to feed it to my brother to try and get him to gain weight. Always need happy. Yeah, I usually do, but I have to be on a train at like 7 in the morning. So it'll be interesting. Doing good. Prepping for a presentation tomorrow. Planning on giving the dog her evening walk. Okay. Oh, I miss doing walks. Yes. Happy Pie Day, everyone. So Jabri, I know you just got here, so sorry, we're sort of wrapping up as soon as you showed, but there are streams going on all day. It is the all-day streamathon or all-day write-a-thon with AuthorTube. I think Marissa Mohi is streaming right now, and there are going to be more streams throughout the day. So if you're looking to keep up the productivity, there will plenty of opportunities, which is going to be phenomenal. Pi Day is March 14th, 3.14, which is the beginning of pi. You know, 3.14, blah, 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 blah. I'm not one of those nerds. I did not memorize the digits of pi. I know people who have. I can't be bothered. I don't need to measure circles in my science. The youngest had Pi Day celebration on Friday. Yep. Caramel apple pie. Yes, it was lovely having you. Do say hi to Bailey for me. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to figure out my Twitch thing soon so I can lurk on her streams on Twitch. But if you are one of the people who was new here, I'm here every Sunday, except for the first of the month. And so I'll be back next week. Yes, and if you're looking for more streams, check out the Worldwide Write-a-thon. They are going all day. And for me, all night because of the way the 24 hours works. But they're going all day. So if you're looking for streams, they've got you covered. And I think I'm going to make dinner soon. Ooh. Yes, you should probably nap and dream of pie. Nap, dream of pie. I will come by and lurk on the streams. Oh yeah, date's the other way around. So you don't have Pi Day. We can't have Pi Day in Europe if the dates are the other way around. Oh, that's annoying. I'm going to stick with the American system just to keep Pi Day. Just to keep Pi Day. Yes, I love her streams. I need to figure out what's wrong with Twitch, but I'll figure that out. So again, thank you all for coming. If you're looking for more streams, hit up the Worldwide Write-a-thon, and I'm going to go get dinner, but it was so lovely seeing you guys all. So hopefully I will see some of you next week.